Good day, everybody. This is Tim Davidson, certified Christ-based counselor and faith life coach, among other things. And today I discuss the topic of the man who accepts a woman and her children. Let's begin. So I came across an article recently, this past week, where there was a particular gentleman who was dating a woman who had two children. And they were supposed to get married. They were engaged. And this gentleman had a conversation with this woman. And he loved her kids more than their actual real father, because their real father wasn't around. And before they got married, he had a conversation with said woman. And this woman, where he went down a laundry list, if you will, of things that he would accept, that he wouldn't accept. He had questions concerning the kids, and for whatever reason, there was an issue as far as the mother was concerned with him disciplining her kids. And it's not uncommon, quite frankly. This, matter of fact, is the issue that worldwide, I would say 80%, if not 90 or higher, where if you are a man and you are accepting the responsibility of soon to be stepdad, most mothers would have an issue with a man who's not her children's real father disciplining them. And this was the case in this particular article that I was reading. So immediately, this was a gigantic red flag, and it should have been. And ultimately, the engagement gets called off because the mom took issue with him ever striking her children on the behind when they were acting up. Now, I actually want to read something to y'all. I actually want to share something. And this comes from Proverbs 13:24. And the scripture says, those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children. Those who love their children care enough to discipline them. Proverbs 13:24. And therein lies the problem right there. Now, I'm sure there's a handful of exceptions around the world. Matter of fact, I can speak for myself as well. Whenever I was seeing a particular mother of two, and the mother of two actually was okay with me popping her little girl on the behind whenever she was acting up. She was okay with that. She gave me her blessing, if you will. So there are exceptions, but more often than not, I see women that aren't okay with it. Whenever I'm reading stuff online or talking to certain people, or just giving them a scenario of, hey, if you met a guy, would you be okay? If he was a great guy, would you be okay with him actually disciplining your child? As far as like popping them on the behind whenever they're out of line, would you be okay with that? Or is that something that you just want to take care of? And like I said, 8 times out of 10 of the things that I've seen, the people that I've asked, every woman, not every woman, but majority of women I've asked wanted to do that themselves. They didn't want to have this man who they don't know is dad be physical with them in that aspect. So therein lies the problem. Like I said, because of this particular woman and man had that issue with him spanking her children, even though he was getting ready to take the role of stepdad, even though they didn't have any father, she still took offense to that. And he wasn't okay with that situation. He was like, look, if I'm going to be all in, it's like, you have to give me your blessing for me to be able to correct these kids. And she was not okay with that. And because she was not okay with that, therein lied a crossroad. And he decided to go separate ways. And I believe that, if I remember correctly, they were dating for 2 years, and that's a big deal. And that would be a deal breaker. Here's the thing, ladies. If you meet a good man who comes into your life, especially a godly man, if you meet a godly man who comes into your life and he is being more, not only has he is he being good to you, but he's good to your children. He plays with them, he interacts with them, he gets them some food, maybe get them ready for bed, et cetera, while you guys are still dating. And you're getting closer and closer to going to that next step. But if you don't give him that blessing, especially when there's not a father around, I half-heartedly agree, more so closer to even wholeheartedly agree, that if there's a dad that's still around and he's already taking care of that too, then I can really understand it. As far as no, their dad is still around, so he corrects them when they need to be corrected. I get that, but here's the flip part that needs to also be corrected to go along with it. Because if a man is going to accept a woman with children, that means he also has to play dad 2.0, basically. And he has to do every single thing a dad would do that maybe only gets to see his kids every other weekend or maybe every weekend. But when the kids are with the mom full time, that means stepdad is getting more time than the real dad. And therein lies the problem. Is you're spending more time with the kids than their real dad. And it doesn't mean that you're trying to take them away from their real dad or make them forget their real dad. But this stepdad has to do a lot of things that the dad would do for the kids, whether that be dropping them off at school, picking them up from school, picking them up meals, getting them dressed in the morning, tucking them in for bed, bathing them, etc., etc. So you're doing all these different things and playing the role of dad more than the real dad. But the thing that you are unable to do is discipline those kids. You're doing everything else a biological father is doing, but you can't discipline them when they're out of line, when they're acting up, when they're cutting up, whatever you want to call it. So that I concur with this man who realized that he would not be able to get a hold of these children when they were cutting up. Their mom was not okay with that. Now, again, if a real dad was in the picture, it's a little more understandable if he's still in the picture, if he's in their lives on a week-to-week basis, and maybe gets to see them on the weekends or maybe once a week on a Wednesday or something like that. Whatever is worked out between the mom and the real dad. But for a situation such as no dad is available, it's very difficult to understand how any mom would not be okay with a man who is disciplining her children, as long as he's proven himself, as long as he's shown to be a good man to her, a good man to her children, as far as interaction, as far as playing with them, and everything else in between. That's hard to swallow. So I put this question out there on the floor for any single moms out there. How would you feel, especially any single moms that don't have a dad in the life of her kids or your child? So I want y'all to actually answer that question. Go ahead and leave a comment below and respond to this particular couple. It's like, how would you feel? Do you actually agree with the mom that you would be uncomfortable with a man disciplining your children as far as spanking is concerned, paddling their behind whenever they're acting up and maybe you're not around or whatever? How do y'all feel about that? I'm actually very curious, and I want to put that question out there on the table to get a more broader response. So for me personally, like I said, if I'm dating a mom and I have had the blessing of actually popping a child's behind who I was with a mother who I was with for a while. But the majority, from what I've seen thus far, say that women are uncomfortable with that. And that's a little bit hard to swallow for me personally, but I am curious. So please leave any comments. You guys can reach out on Twitter and Instagram. My handles are in the description. Check out my podcast, also in the description. You guys can become partners of mine on Patreon. I would appreciate that. And anything else, like go ahead and drop any kind of scenario that you might have that maybe that you personally have gone through, or a fictitious scenario. I would like to hear all kind of feedback. But other than that, I'll keep a lookout. I'll continue to produce these videos at a high clip. But until next time, peace out.